I never thought a college party would make me question everything about myself, my identity, my confidence, and even how people around me perceive me. But that night, as I walked into the split-a-suit party, I realized just how exposed I really was. And not just because of what I was wearing. I'm 21, a college student, and I'm gay. I'm part of a frat, which is pretty chill. No one has ever given me grief for being gay. But I'm the only one in the group. And sometimes that alone can make you feel like a spotlight is always on you. Every year, our college hosts a date party to celebrate the end of finals. This year's theme, split a suit. The idea is simple. Take all the pieces of a suit, blazer, shirt, pants, tie, and split them between you and your date. Easy for some, tricky for others. I knew what I was walking into. Most guys would show up shirtless under a blazer with just suit pants. Most girls would wear oversized dress shirts, ties, and nothing else on the bottom. It's all part of the party's chaotic charm, but for me, it wasn't that simple. I'd been casually talking to a guy in my class. We'd hung out a few times, but nothing serious. He's also gay, so at least I wasn't walking into the unknown alone. I asked him what he was comfortable wearing. He said he preferred to stay fully dressed, so I told him to take the dress shirt and pants. I'd take the rest. On the night of the party, I wore a blazer, a tie, and boxer briefs, shirtless underneath. To me, it fit the theme. Edgy, confident, and playful. Walking in, I noticed eyes on me. Some curious, some impressed, most indifferent. A few of my frat brothers gave nods of approval. Everything seemed fine until a friend's girlfriend approached me. She told me, in no uncertain terms, that I was making the girls uncomfortable. I felt my cheeks heat up. I had thought this was a fun, themed party, not a fashion tribunal. Embarrassed, I stepped aside, explaining to my date that maybe we should leave. We did. My date looked at me with a mixture of confusion and disappointment. He said I had misled him about what the party would be like, and that I was being inappropriate. I tried to explain the outfit made sense for the theme, but his frown told me he wasn't convinced. As we walked out, I felt a wave of self-doubt. Had I really crossed a line? Was I the asshole for trusting my own judgment? For trying to stay true to myself and my sense of style? The questions churned in my head, louder with every step away from the house. As my date and I stepped out of the party, the cool night air hit me like a splash of reality. It wasn't just embarrassment anymore. It was confusion, self-doubt, and a gnawing question that refused to leave me. Did I actually misjudge the situation? I had expected some stares, maybe whispers, but being confronted like that in front of a room full of people felt personal, targeted almost. And yet I knew deep down I hadn't done anything wrong. I had followed the theme. I had respected my date's comfort. The problem wasn't the outfit. It was perceptions, expectations, and someone else's rigid idea of appropriate. We walked silently for a few minutes, the sidewalk empty except for the occasional late-night wanderer. My date broke the quiet. "I guess I didn't realize it would be like that," he said softly. "I trusted you, but it was more revealing than I expected." I tried to laugh it off. "It's just a party. The theme's ridiculous. People are judgmental. Don't take it personally." But the truth was, I did take it personally. I had always been confident, proud even, about expressing myself. Being gay in a frat wasn't always easy, but I had found my place. And yet tonight, I felt exposed, not just physically, but emotionally. Every word that friend's girlfriend had said replayed in my mind. "You're making the girls uncomfortable." What did that even mean? Over the next few days, the incident lingered like a shadow. I avoided parties, declined casual invites, and even skipped a few classes. I didn't want anyone to see me, to judge me again, but avoiding everything wasn't a solution. I knew that. I started reflecting. The frat had always been a mix of supportive and ridiculous. They celebrated diversity in theory, but in practice, even subtle deviation could draw criticism. I wasn't out of place, but tonight made me feel like I was. And that discomfort wasn't just social, it was personal. One afternoon, I called my best friend, someone who had known me since freshman year. "I don't know if I handled it right," I confessed. I wanted to be confident, stay on theme, but it blew up. I feel like I embarrassed myself. They listened patiently before replying. "You did nothing wrong. You stayed true to yourself. Anyone who says otherwise is projecting their insecurities onto you. The problem isn't you, it's them." Their words sank in slowly. Confidence wasn't about never being questioned. It was about believing in yourself even when others doubted you. But that was easier said than done. Then came the fraternity's weekly meeting. Members laughed about the party, shared photos, and joked about ridiculous outfits. I realized everyone had fun, even with the over-the-top theme. And then someone mentioned me, not maliciously, just in passing. "Did you see my name's outfit? Bold choice." I felt my chest tighten. Bold. That was exactly how I wanted to feel. Not embarrassed, not ashamed. Bold. So I made a decision. The next party, the next event, the next moment, I would own who I was unapologetically. The experience had been uncomfortable, but it was a lesson in self-assurance, in navigating perception versus reality. A week later, my date and I met again, this time in a quieter, more private setting. We talked about boundaries, expectations, and communication. I apologized, not for the outfit, but for not fully preparing him for the environment. He smiled and admitted he hadn't expected such a loud, judgmental crowd. We laughed about it, the tension easing, and I realized relationships, friendships, romantic or otherwise, were as much about trust and understanding as they were about appearances. By the end of the week, I felt a shift. Confidence was returning. The embarrassment wasn't gone, but it was tempered by perspective. I had faced judgment, felt it, survived it, and was now stronger. Walking across campus the next day, blazer casually thrown over my shoulders, tie loosely around my neck, I noticed people staring again. Only this time it didn't matter. I knew who I was. I owned my identity, my choices, and my boundaries. And more importantly, I had learned that other people's discomfort was never my responsibility. The days after the party continued to teach me lessons I hadn't expected. Confidence wasn't a switch you could flip. It was more like a muscle. You had to train it, strengthen it through repeated exposure and practice. Back in the frat house, I started noticing subtle things. Conversations that had previously made me self-conscious now barely registered. When someone glanced my way, I reminded myself it didn't matter what they thought. My identity, my choices, my comfort, they came first. That didn't mean I was dismissive or arrogant. It meant I valued myself over fleeting social approval. Classes went on. Life went on. My date and I continued seeing each other, and our relationship matured. He was patient, understanding, and willing to navigate awkward social dynamics with me. We talked about boundaries for future events, laughing over the split-a-suit disaster as if it were some rite of passage. Those moments of shared vulnerability strengthened our connection. I also realized something else. This experience was bigger than just me or the party. It was about representation. Being openly gay in a frat where I was the only one wasn't just about me feeling safe or comfortable. It was about breaking molds, challenging subtle norms, and showing others that diversity could exist in every space. My actions, choices, and even mistakes had the power to shift perceptions, if only slightly. The following month, another themed event came up. I could have avoided it, chosen anonymity, or dressed normal, but I didn't. I chose authenticity again. And this time I wasn't alone. My date, confident and aware, accompanied me, and together we embraced the theme on our own terms. There were whispers, yes, but they felt distant, irrelevant. I no longer flinched or questioned myself. More importantly, I started helping others. A freshman approached me after a casual meeting, nervous about being openly queer in the frat. I shared my story, the embarrassment, the judgment, the lessons learned. I wanted them to know that discomfort wasn't failure, and visibility wasn't shame. Representation mattered, and courage was contagious. By the end of the semester, I had grown in ways I hadn't anticipated. I had learned the importance of self-expression, navigating social expectations, and handling criticism with grace. I had learned that mistakes, misunderstandings, and awkward situations weren't indicators of personal failure. They were opportunities to adapt, grow, and educate. Looking back, the split-a-suit party became more than just a memory of embarrassment. It was a turning point, a catalyst for personal growth. It taught me that being bold wasn't reckless. It was intentional. It taught me that identity wasn't negotiable. And it taught me that self-respect was non-negotiable. Walking across campus one afternoon, I felt a quiet pride. The fraternity, the campus, the social circles, they didn't define me. I defined myself. And in that realization, I discovered freedom. The freedom to exist authentically, unapologetically, and confidently. The awkward glances, the whispered judgments, the uncomfortable confrontations, they had all shaped me. And I wouldn't change a single moment. Because in the end, authenticity isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. And so with each day, I carried that lesson forward, to be unapologetically me, to trust my instincts, to embrace discomfort as growth, and to never let others' perceptions dictate my worth. That was my journey, my story, and my truth.